welcome back to Between the Baobabs, where life slows down just a little bit. So grab a glass of something good and hang out with me as I dive into our next episode, which is all about pangolins. But first, I have some very unfortunate news. I am officially a solo podcaster. Unfortunately, Teska has prior engagements that kind of tightens up her schedule, if I say. Yeah. So she had to phone me this week and ask me if she could please be excused from the podcast. She can no longer commit to it as of right now. She is possibly going to come back next year, but we will see. She does have a lot on her plate, and I know I will definitely miss her. But yes, we are now just me now, I guess. It's gonna be tough. I will admit that now. I will definitely miss having a partner in crime for all of this. But there is a little bit of good news. A little silver in the clouds, silver lining, if you will. That now I can begin to commit to an episode a week again, and maybe a little bit of extra marketing in a different light, which will be interesting. But I don't know who I'm going to be talking to. It's a bit strange talking to myself. So if anyone has any questions or anything you'd like me to talk about in future episodes, please do not hesitate to comment anyway on Instagram, on Spotify, on YouTube. Whatever comments you leave behind, I will definitely read them, and yeah, then we can hopefully have more of a conversation. All right, so let's dive into this next episode together. I don't know who I'm going to be bouncing ideas off of anymore, but we will give this a thumbs up because we're feeling nice to Anna. And only supportive comments in the comment section, please. All right, so as I said earlier, today's episode is all about pangolins, which I find very interesting. They are definitely one of my favorite creatures. They're very extremely elusive. If you thought seeing a leopard is hard, seeing a pangolin is even harder. And if you're hearing anything in the background, I'm terribly sorry, but I have a feeling I have some baboons in some trees right outside my house. And they are loving throwing stuff down. So please just ignore that for now. Yes. All right, so to start off with, as usual, taxonomy. So the pangolin belongs to the kingdom Animalia. As usual, it is an animal. It fits into the phylum Chordata as it has a backbone. Well, it has a notochord which then develops into a backbone, and has a spinal cord, of course. It also fits into the class Mammalia, the mammals. And this is actually where a lot of people get confused because it's covered in scales, which is like those creatine little spikes or scales, and it kind of looks a bit like a fish in that way. Like they overlap each other a bit like a fish scales do. So a lot of people assume that they belong to like some sort of reptile classification, which is not true because they are warm-blooded animals, and they have hair growing in between the scales, They also produce live young. So yeah, they fit into the mammal family, or mammal class. They belong to the order Philodota. And it basically translates to the scaly ones. This is the only living order that contains pangolins. And then we have the family Manidae. Meaning family containing all living pangolins. And I got confused about this when I was doing my research, and I was like, but why are you only talking about living pangolins? Like, what does that mean? Are they like dead ones that we're talking about? And that's actually exactly what it means. So according to my research, it is basically the pangolins that we have left. So there are 8 species of pangolins that are alive. And so this is basically what I got. The wording all living pangolins is there because there are pangolin species that are extinct, no longer exist, and there are also ancient relatives relatives known only from fossils. When scientists say all living pangolins belong to the family Manidae, they mean pangolins that are alive today. The 8 species still found in Africa and Asia are all members of the same family. And the 8 living species are obviously the Temminck's ground pangolin, which we find here in South Luangwa, giant ground pangolin, white-bellied pangolin, black-bellied pangolin, and those are the ones we find in Africa. There are 4 that are found in Asia: the Indian pangolin, Chinese pangolin, Sunda pangolin, and Philippine pangolin. Yeah. All right. So then we go on to the genus Manis, M-A-N-I-S, Manis. This is the group name shared by all living pangolins. And the species that we find here, as I mentioned, is the Manis temminckii. It's actually a cool name. Temminckii. The species name honors Conrad Jacob Temminckii. And I will tell you why in a second. So, Conrad Jacob Temminckii, born in 1778, died in 1858, was a Dutch zoologist, ornithologist, and naturalist who played a central role in the development of 19th century zoology. He is best known for his influential publications on birds and mammals, and for serving as the first director of the National Museum of Natural History in Leiden, helping establish it as one of Europe's leading scientific collections. Yeah. There's a legacy for this man, and it is many animals bear the name Temminck in recognition of his contributions, including the pangolin, golden cat, and stint. His publications, museum work, and taxonomy research helped shape modern zoology, while his influence extended through later naturalists such as Hermann Schollen, who continued developing the Leiden collections. So, back to what a pangolin is. They are the only mammals on Earth covered in true keratin scales. And this is exactly the same stuff that makes up like our fingernails, hair, rhino horns, animal claws. And unlike pangolins, they give... And under more of my never-ending pile of studying that I tend to do for these episodes, I found out that the name pangolin comes from the Malay word pangolin, meaning one who rolls up. And scientists place pangolin in their own unique order because they are not closely related to any anteaters, armadillos, or aardvark. Even though they look like they might actually be cousins, this is an example of what we call convergent evolution, where unrelated animals evolve in similar adaptations because they fill similar ecological roles. So much like the aardvarks and like anteaters have those really, really long tongues. So you've got the three that like fit in together, and pangolins actually have the nickname the scaly anteater, but they have like next to nothing in common other than the fact that they both eat ants, and they both have that really long sticky tongue that they can fit into the holes of ant that the ants make, and then pull out thousands and thousands of ants at one go. They are actually not even that closely related. So yeah, pangolin got its own little order all by itself. And while I'm on the topic of the tongue, which is like so crazy to me, it doesn't actually like attach inside the mouth the way that ours do, like in this open area of our mouth. It actually stretches all the way back to the chest cavity near the pelvis and comes all the way forward. When fully extended, the tongue can actually reach 40 to 70 centimeters, often longer than the head and body combined. So yeah, it's just crazy. It's coated in incredibly sticky saliva. One quick flick inside a termite mound can collect hundreds of insects. Isn't that just crazy? They also don't actually have teeth. They have absolutely no teeth. Instead, they swallow insects whole. And since they can't actually chew, they've come up with their own little solution. Inside the stomach, there are thick muscular walls. The pangolin deliberately swallows tiny little stones and sand. And these act like grinding teeth, crushing insects inside the stomach. Birds such as chickens use very similar system with their gizzard. So like the gizzard inside the throat like crushes everything, but pangolins literally swallow little rocks and little sand bits and stuff to like get the like. Have you ever seen a grinding machine? It kind of does the same thing. So it just kind of rolls and rolls and rolls until eventually the food and the ants and the insects are just soft like sand, I guess. I don't know how else to explain that. They also have like really, really powerful claws. Those enormous front claws are designed for one thing: breaking open termite mounds. Some termite mounds become almost as hard as concrete, yet a pangolin can tear them open surprisingly quickly. Those claws are also excellent for digging burrows and occasionally for defense. Because the claws are so long, pangolins don't walk on them. Instead, they curl their front feet inward and walk on their knuckles. So if you've ever seen like a warthog, okay, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but a warthog also doesn't, like when he's eating, he doesn't operate on his feet. He like curls them up and he like hobbles forward. Pangolins do the same thing. They either do that or they use their tail, their like back tail, and they stand up on their back legs and balance with their tail and they walk forward like little humans. I can always think this is a huge idea, and if anyone does this, please let me know. But have you ever seen those toddler outfits that they make with all the little bones and stuff? And it's like that sound that sound on Instagram that's like dinosaur. Well, I always think of the same thing. I think it would be so ridiculously cute if anyone makes like a toddler outfit of a pangolin, because how cute. Like he's standing on his back legs, His front feet are forward and he's using his tail to balance, and it's just a wobble, and it's just a wobble. Oh, yes. Okay, so that is my huge idea. Guys, if this has already been made, let me know in the comments where I can find one, because I have nieces and nephews and I would die to see them in this little outfit. I think it would be so ridiculously cute. All right, back to the pangolin. Sense of smell. Their eyesight is relatively poor, their hearing is decent, but their sense of smell is exceptional. They can detect termite colonies hidden underground long before humans would notice anything. So before there's even a little hole or a little hump, the termites are smelt ages before they even begin to make a termite mound. Their noses are constantly testing the air while they forage. They have incredible appetite. An adult pangolin may consume 20,000 to 70,000 ants and termites every single day. How crazy is that? I don't even think we eat that much rice. If you had to put that much rice in front of a person, that many grains of rice, I don't know. I feel like it would get to 10,000 and we'd be like, okay, I'm done. I can't do anymore. And imagine removing tens of thousands of insects from the ecological system every day. So they're basically natural pest control. So if you're on safari, just be grateful. And you've got and you're very, very irritated because ants have gotten into your tent or something, you just got to thank a pangolin. Because if it wasn't for him, that would happen to you every single day. Imagine. And how incredible are insects? Because they can, they make up so much of our ecosystem. It's crazy. Because imagine a life where there weren't that many insect eaters. And if you think about it, birds eat insects, animals eat insects, like mammals. We eat insects. Trying to think of an example now, but I can't. Well, we eat inswa, which is flying ants. So almost every type of animal that you get out there eats insects. Insects eat insects. And yet we still have enough to continue going around. And I haven't really heard of a lot of concern for these animals. I've heard about bees being we need to take care of our bees, obviously, because they play such an important role in our ecosystem. They pollinate everything. But how crazy is it that we can actually, I don't know how to put that. I don't know how else to put that thought out, but we live day to day. Things are eating insects and we still have insects in this world. How crazy is their reproductive system? Because wow. And to think about it, a lot of insects like bees, there's only one reproducing in a colony. So for bees, there's only the queen bee that's allowed to reproduce more bees. That's crazy. The amount of math, it's not mathing in my head, but it's insane. I can't get over it. All right, anyways. So their form of defense. When a pangolin feels threatened, it doesn't run very fast because it's obviously the body and the way that it's shaped, it can't, guys. It's got itty bitty legs, okay? Have you ever seen that reel that goes, oh, just run, and the little girl turns around, I'm trying, I got little wait for me, I got little legs. Yeah, I say that regularly because I do. Short world life. But seriously, this little dude, he suffers. So instead, they stop. They curl into almost a perfect ball and tuck their vulnerable face and belly underneath. All that's exposed are razor-sharp, overlapping scales. These scales have surprisingly sharp ends. If a lion bites down, it usually gets a painful mouthful of scales. So there's actually been a few sightings of lionesses trying to open up a pangolin. And what ends up happening is the lioness will claw at it and try to bite it, and will end up having damaged itself more than it damages the pangolin. So it will, on the paws, because obviously that's sensitive for a lion as well, they try to cut through the razor sharp scales, cut them deeper, which is insane. And eventually the lioness gives up and is like, okay, well, I'll find something much easier to hunt, like a puma or a buffalo. I think they'll choose a buffalo over a pangolin. Hyena, despite having incredible powerful jaw, often struggle too. So same reason, they can't. And the force that this pangolin is tightly rolled up, it's so difficult to get them to unroll until they feel safe. However, there is one small weakness, and that would be people. I don't know how else to put this. Poachers simply pick them up while they're curled into a ball. And the only time I've ever seen a pangolin, and that's 25 years of doing this, right? I've only ever seen a pangolin once in my life. And those are the photos that you are all seeing on Instagram and Facebook. Those are the photos that my mom took. And basically, it was a rescue. So he was very, very fortunate. It was very cute. He was very cute. But basically what poachers do is they pick them up, and while they're rolled in their ball, they put them into a bucket. And they put them in sideways so that when they try to unroll, they can't. So if you look very carefully at the photos that I posted, you'll see that there's little white marks on their scales, and that was from it trying to open up while inside the bucket, but obviously failed. But fortunately for us, even though we have poachers, we have amazing, incredible teams that try to prevent the deaths of these beautiful, beautiful animals. And basically, pangolins are considered the most trafficked wild animals in the world. Their scales are illegally traded for use in some forms of traditional medicine, despite there being no scientific evidence that the scales have medical properties. Since the scales are made of keratin, they're chemically very similar to human fingernails. So if you are interested in pangolin medication, please rip off your nails and use them instead, or collect your nail clippings, mush that up and eat it, because that is roughly the same thing that you would do. That is roughly the exact same chemical reaction you're going to get. Their meat is also considered a delicacy in some places. Please do not order pangolin meals. I don't think I can stress this enough. They are not yum. I have never tried, but you say no for me, thank you. Another one is habitat loss. As far as disappear wild spaces shrink, pangolins lose feeding ground and safe places to live. Road collisions and electric fences can also kill pangolins in some parts of Africa. Another challenge is that pangolins reproduce extremely slowly. So a female usually gives birth to just one pup, which, by the way, how cute, after a pregnancy of around 4 to 5 months. So every 4 to 5 months, if they reproduce regularly, they only get one little dude. The baby stays with its mother for several months, often riding her tail as she searches for food. Because they have few young, populations recover very slowly after losses. The good news is that conservation organizations, wildlife authorities, veterinarians, and local communities are working hard to protect pangolins through anti-poaching efforts, rescue and rehabilitation education, and habitat conservation. Yeah. So, let's protect our pangolins, people. Please. Okay, well, I feel like I dampened the mood. So let's talk about some fun facts. The first is one of my favorites. So when they are digging or devouring through an entire termite colony, they actually close off their eyes and their ears and their nostrils to prevent insects from like crawling inside of them, which I mean, fair game, I would do that too. And every single pangolin has its own unique scale pattern. So almost like we have our own little fingerprints and zebras have each their own little stripe pattern. Pangolins have their own unique scale pattern. So so when you like photograph pangolins and you give them to researchers, they can actually tell you, oh no, we've been tracking this one, or this is a new pangolin in the area, or that type of thing. It's really quite fascinating, like especially how like people follow animals. I find it so interesting. Like they can identify, like they get such a personal relationship to an animal without actually, going into their life, like without the animal knowing they exist. But they manage to, like, they get so attached. It's so cute. Pangolins also do not have vocal cords, so their primary source of communication is through scent. So they will produce scent through hormone glands so that other pangolins can pick up on all sorts of things, like whether or not a female is ready to mate, or if this is one of theirs territory, like don't come here, this is mine, that type of thing. So yeah, they tend to do that instead of, as much as I talk, they go, we are not alike, my guy. We are not the same. And as I mentioned, it has been many, 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 many years of me being in the bush. And I've, like I said, only ever seen a rescue pangolin. So I've never seen one out in the wild. And a big reason for that, more than just, the trafficking and the fact that they're extremely difficult to find, it's also because they are nocturnal. So they only really come out at night. And yeah, you don't get to see them because we're not allowed in the park after 8. So yeah, that's one of the big reasons. It's also one of the reasons why I've never seen an aardvark, and I'm grumpy about it. Can you tell? They also help the ecosystem by eating enormous numbers of ants, termites, and they naturally keep insect populations balanced. So as I was saying before, like imagine how crazy it would be if they didn't exist. We would be riddled with insects if pangolins did not exist and did not do their job. They really are just like silent little vacuums, I think. Very cool. Very cool little animals. Now, as usual, we have our African myth. And the title of this myth is The Pangolin, the animal that belonged to the rain. African culture belief. Before we talk about the pangolin as a scientific wonder, it is worth looking at how people who lived alongside these animals for generations understood them. To many people today, a pangolin is simply a strange-looking animal, a mammal covered in scales walking through the night, searching for ants and termites. But in parts of southern Africa, the pangolin was never considered an ordinary animal. It was something much more mysterious. Among some Shona-speaking communities of Zimbabwe, the pangolin was regarded as a creature of great spiritual importance. It was associated with rain, fertility, prosperity, and leadership. And the reason this belief developed is actually quite fascinating. Imagine living generations ago without modern science, without cameras, without books explaining animal behavior. You live close to the land. You understand the seasons. You know the animals around you. You know the elephant paths, the lion calls, the bird movements, and when certain trees flower. And then every now and then, the bush reveals something almost unbelievable. A creature appears. It walks slowly and silently through the night. It has no teeth. It has no obvious weapons. Yet, its entire body is covered in armor. When danger comes, it doesn't run or fight. It simply curls into a perfect ball and becomes almost impossible to defeat. To people observing this animal hundreds of years ago, the pangolin must have seemed almost like a creature between worlds. Not quite a reptile, not quite like any other mammal, something completely unique. The connection to rain. One of the strangest beliefs surrounding the pangolin was its connection to rain. In many African traditional belief systems, rain was not just weather. Rain meant life, food, healthy crops, water for people and animals, the survival of communities. A good rainy season meant prosperity. A poor rainy season could mean hardship. So animals believed to have connection to rain were treated with great respect. The pangolin was one of those animals. Some Shona traditions believe that finding a pangolin was not just a random wildlife encounter, it was a significant event. The animal was considered special enough that it should not simply belong to the person who discovered it. Instead, it was traditionally taken to a chief or community leader. Why? Because the pangolin was believed to carry importance beyond the individual. It was something connected to the whole community. The animal of chiefs. One of the most interesting parts of these beliefs is the relationship between pangolins and leadership. In some traditions, pangolins were considered animals associated with chiefs because those represented something valuable and rare. The chief was responsible for the well-being of the people. The pangolin was connected with the forces that brought life, especially rain. The animal was therefore treated with honor. It was not hunted like ordinary game. It was not viewed as food. Instead, it was something to be respected. This tells us something very important about traditional conservation. Long before modern wildlife laws and national park existed, cultural beliefs sometimes help protect certain species. The respect surrounding the pangolin may have helped communities live alongside these animals for generations. When you think about a pangolin, it is easy to understand why people create stories around it. It is one of Africa's most unusual animals. A pangolin has scales like a reptile, but nurses its babies like a mammal. Has no teeth, but eats thousands of insects. Has poor eyesight, but an incredible sense of smell. Looks vulnerable, but carries its own natural armor. Spends most of its life hidden away from humans. Even today, scientists still describe pangolins as mysterious because we know surprisingly little about them compared to more famous African animals. A lion announces itself. An elephant leaves footprints everywhere. A buffalo moves in herds. But a pangolin can live its entire life in the bush, almost unseen. That mystery is exactly what made people view it as something special. All right. Well, perhaps the ancient people who lived alongside pangolins understood something that modern conservation is now trying to teach us. That the rarest creatures are not always the biggest and the strongest, or the most famous. Sometimes the most important animals are the quiet ones, the ones that walk through the darkness, carrying their own armor, keeping the balance of the bush without even asking to be noticed. And to be honest with you, I literally live on game drives scanning underneath every single shrub I can find just to try see one of them. I am just obsessed. They are so cute. They are just All right. So I think for this next section, we're gonna change it up a bit because I don't have anyone to do the two truths and a lie with. So I was thinking maybe we could shift it a little bit to us doing the two truths and the lie together. All right. So a bit like, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember. I'm gonna expose myself a bit here, but newspapers and magazines always used to do this fun thing on like the last page where it would like either give you a word search or like a, I don't know how else to put it, like just basically a game, and they would basically leave you hanging for a week and they wouldn't tell you the answers until you had to buy the next issue. And I think that's a really good hook, and I'm going to use that now. And I'm going to leave you guys with two truths and a lie. And I'm going to leave you to guess which one it is. And we will get into the answer next week, basically. Number one, pangolins have a special muscle called the panniculus carnosus, which allows them to control the movement of their skin and scales. Temenix ground pangolins dig their own permanent underground burrows where they spend most of their daylight hours, and they rarely use burrows made by other animals. 3. Temenix ground pangolins can swim, and they may use water as a way to escape danger or cool down during hot weather. All right, everyone. That was our episode on pangolins for Between the Baobabs. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please do let me know what you thought in the comments. Also, let us know, or let me know what answer you think was correct for the two truths and a lie. So tell me which one you thought was the lie, and why you thought it was a lie. You can also leave that in the comments if you'd like, or you can message me directly on Instagram or Facebook, and I will let you guys all know the answer next week. All right. Yeah. I definitely missed Cheska this episode. My love, I miss you. But that was a good episode, and yeah. Thanks for listening.